Alrighty, this is a video that's going to have examples of sequences and how to write the formulas for them, either arithmetic or geometric. Okay, so this is going to go a lot faster, and these are the same examples that you have seen or will see in the live class that we're going to be doing. So, share screen. This share. Alrighty. We have already seen that this first one is arithmetic because it has a common difference. So now I'm just going to ask that we all write the equation for this formula, for the sequence. And like, you just need to remember the formula that for an arithmetic sequence, I'm going to write it up at top. T sub n is equal to any term that you know. It could be the first term, it could be the 0th term, it could be the 4th, whatever, plus your common difference times n minus k, which is like that term number that you knew, the one that you used before. Remember that this and this have to match. So if you use the first term, you use n minus 1. If you use the 0th term, it would be n minus 0, just n. If you use the third term, it would be n minus 3. That's just what it is, okay? That's arithmetic, and if we do geometric, T sub n is equal to the term that you know, again, first, second, third, it doesn't matter, 0th, times your ratio raised to the n minus k power. Again, this k and this n are exactly the same. Guys, like, this is exactly what it's going to look like. You just take the numbers, put them in there, almost no thinking. Okay, so we're just going to go through this very quickly. For number 1, why don't we use, I'll write it 2 times. I'll write it with the first term. So I'll say T sub n for this sequence is equal to 24 plus negative 3, which plus negative 3 is the same as like minus 3. So I'm just going to say minus 3. Minus 3 times n minus 1, because that was the first term. Or let's do another one. This is like T sub n is equal to, I'm going to use this third term. So this is 18 minus 3 times n minus 3. I mean, these are the same, okay? Let's move on to number 2. I'll write it using the first term, and I'll write it using the 0th term. Now keep in mind this is geometric, so I have to use the equation, the formula that has like the exponent up top. So I'm going to say T sub n is equal to our first term, negative 3, times my ratio. My ratio is negative 4, and I raise it to the n minus first power because I used the first term. There you go. Or I'm going to write it, this is like equivalent. It means the same thing, it just uses the different terms in it, okay? So I'm going to use the 0th term. T sub n is equal to my 0th term, which you know I like fractions, so here's 3/4. 3/4 times negative 4 raised to the n minus 0, but n minus 0 is just n. There you go, same thing. Here is number 3. This is arithmetic, so we will be using our common difference. We'll just use these two, the first term and the 0th term like we found. Here is T sub n equals my first term 7. My common difference was a negative 10, so I could say plus negative 10, or I could just say minus 10. That's what I'm going to do. Minus 10 times n minus 1. Or, using my 0th term, it's going to be T sub n equals, my 0th term is 17, minus 10 times n minus 0, but n minus 0 is just n. There you go. Geometric series. I'm sorry, sequence. We didn't label any of the terms here, so why don't we just use our first term? Our first term here is just 3/2. Okay. So our general equation is going to be T sub n is equal to our first term, 3/2, times our ratio, which is 1/6, raised to the n minus first power. There you go. Okay. if you wanted to go backwards from the first term and find the 0th term, instead of multiplying by 1/6, you would be dividing by 1/6. But dividing by 1/6 is also the same as multiplying by 6/1. It's like we flip the fractions, okay? So if I wanted to figure out the 0th term, I would be multiplying by 6/1. Oof, I should organize my thoughts here. So I'm going to do 3/2 times 6/1, which is going to give me 18/2, which I can definitely simplify. 18 divided by 2 is 9. Yep. That means my 0th term is going to be 9. So I can write another equivalent equation here, or t sub n is equal to 9 times 1/6, that's our common ratio, raised to the nth power, just like n minus 0, right? And number 5, last one, this is geometric, so I need to have my exponent type of formula. Let's write it with the 5th. Yeah, I like this. Let's write it with the 5th and the 0th. So we're going to have t sub n is equal to 64 times my common ratio, which is 2, raised to the n minus 5th power, because I used the 5th term. Or t sub n is equal to, I'm going to use the 0th term here, which is 2. My common ratio is also 2, and this will be to the nth power. Yeah. Yep. If we wanted to do the first term, which you can obviously see in the equation, in the sequence, would be t sub n is equal to my first term 4 times my ratio, which is 2 raised to the n minus first power. Okay, so this was some quick practice, just writing the formulas for the equations of arithmetic and geometric sequences. Right, so you can continue taking notes, rewatch all of these videos, and then finish and complete the exit ticket about like doing these same things, okay?